Hi guys, my name's Carlo. Today we're going to talk about the game of golf. So these are kind of a outline of what we're going to talk about today, going from the history to the players, looking at the stats, really breaking it down, and then going into a simulation, as well as taking a look at Macintosh compared to the average PGA player. So some history about the game. It started off in the 18th century by the Scots. It didn't really come to the U.S. until 1739, and then didn't get popular around until 1894 when the USGA was formed, the United States Golf Association. So these are the top five kind of greatest players to play the game. Tiger Woods, as you know, he's the greatest to me. Um, Kind of what sets him apart is his um, world golf ranking. So, what I think kind of really separated was 683 weeks at world number one compared to about 330, which is second place, right? So, if you want to take a look at the world's hottest players right now, Dustin Johnson, he's been at the top for a little bit now, for about 100 weeks, and he just won the Masters, just won the FedEx Cup Tour, which both amazing feats. It would take him until 2031 before reaching Tiger Woods' feat of being number one, basically. So, how to play in a few easy steps. The object of the game is to hit the ball the least amount of times through 18 holes. Each time you hit the ball, that is called a stroke, of course. In order to hit the ball, though, it takes about 14 different clubs, and then I'm going to take it a step further, kind of breaking it down into four parts, right? So you have the tee, the fairway, um, and then hitting it around the green as well as on the green. So for the stats, I'm going to take a look and analyze some season stats from the PGA. We're going to take a journey and kind of see what it takes to be a part of the PGA and play with them, but also how much the game has changed over the years. So first, we want to look at 2006 compared to 2020 in the strokes gained department. So this is kind of totaling the average score throughout, right? So Tiger Woods gained 3.443 strokes on the average player throughout his tenure, right? So, in simpler terms, he would score about a 67 um, in relation to the average, which is about a 70, right? So each round he would score about a 67 compared to a 70. So he'd gain about three strokes over the competition, just showing how much better he is than the average player, um, even PGA player. Some of the best. You can see the gap has definitely narrowed. Jon Rahm is in 1.83. So from the tee, we're going to take a look at from the tee first. So this is kind of like the biggest shot of the game, as you guys probably know. It's about 36% of your game, basically, is what I concluded. And you only hit it about 13 to 14 times per round. You got your par threes, which are a little shorter. Um, but in this regression here that I found, driving accuracy edges out distance just a little bit, so it matters a little bit more. It affects your game a little bit more. So what that tells me is just because you hit it far does not mean you're going to be good. Um, you have to hit it accurate as well, right? So would you rather hit it 50 yards, really close, but from behind a tree because you hit it poorly, or 100 yards right in the middle of the fairway? Accuracy matters. So as you can see, the driving distance has changed from 1980 to 2021. Of course, technology and clubs getting different. Um, you can see a 40 yard difference in the kind of driving distance compared to 1980, but the fairway accuracy has stayed the same. Has the same kind of graph. It goes pretty well. So you can see how they really want to maintain their accuracy, but driving distance can fluctuate a little bit. So I want to take a look at the approach shot. So the approach shot is kind of looking at your second shot or your third shot in the par 5. So green in regulation is basically how many times do you hit the green, right? So let's say you're playing a par 4, you want to hit the green on your second shot, right? So that's a green in regulation. So this just shows how much accuracy matters, right? Green in regulation from the fairway is about 80% compared to from the rough, which is only 53%, which hitting it on the green in regulation, of course, makes it a lot easier because putting is one step closer to your goal of getting in the cup. So distance to pin. So this kind of shows how much around the green kind of matters. So if you want to take a look at this left graph, we can see that. So these are average distance from the pin, from the sand in inches, right? So if you look at 250, it shows that your sand save percentage is going to be very low, which is not good. So you can see that it actually matters hitting it close. So let's say 75, you only usually hit it 75 inches from the hole. You can see that your sand save percentage goes up comparative to 250. The right graph is kind of showing your putting average. It doesn't really fluctuate that much because of it, but it still helps, as you can see. So from the green, putting, as you can see, the top right graph kind of shows if your putting average goes up, which more higher putting average means you do worse. So more putts, the worse you do, obviously. Your scoring average goes up with it as well. As you can see, it's kind of grouped right around it. Pretty cool to see how much it correlates. So kind of my favorite part of this whole thing, besides Macintosh, was taking a look at the simulation. So I took a look at the Century Tournament of Champions coming up here, and wanted to do a simulation. So I used the norm.env and random function, as well as making a data table from that. So this kind of made it a lot more fun because I could see how many times they would win 1,000 times, right? So Dustin Johnson won about 316 times compared to the rest. So I thought that was pretty cool. He's just killing it right now. So this is another, so just representation of kind of what happens usually for Dustin Johnson and Bryson. Dustin wins about 42% of the time, so which is pretty cool compared to Bryson, which is only about 20% of the time. So kind of my favorite part, like I said, is Macintosh. So we're going to take a look at all what we just looked at and kind of where it compares to the PGA. So Macintosh versus PGA average off the tee, so the driver. His driver is about 60 yards less, but like I said, accuracy, percentage of yards covered by tee shot is about the same. So that's really all that matters. Maybe he wanted to hit it a little less just so he could keep that mark. So approach the green. So this is your second shot, right? So this is kind of where he could use some work here. He's only hit the green in regulation 33% of the time versus 66% of the time, which is the PGA average. So he could definitely use some help there. And I think that would really help his game, working on getting on the green after his second shot. So around the green as well, he could definitely use a little bit of tweaking here. In his round, he didn't have a sand save, so he didn't score a par or better after hitting into the sand. So not sure if he did hit in the sand, but yeah. So if you want to compare it to the PGA average, the average is about 50% of the time they're going to hit a par or better from the sand. So on the green, as you can see, actually Macintosh killed it. He was like right on point with the putting average. He was actually did better than the average PGA player. So no need to tweak there. He just needs to capitalize on those birdies and do well. So kind of looking at your scoring average. So he scored a 82 through 18 holes. And then I kind of broke it down how many times he had a par 4 or par 3, par 5. So his par 4 is really where it kind of killed him. So if he really focuses on those par 4s and really tries to get those down, I think he can do some good. His actually par 5s were really good. He was very close to the average actually, and just focusing on saving par. So the last little bit, how he can quit his job and join the PGA, right? So here's his beautiful swing. So he wants to work on some driving distance, increasing by about 60 yards. But again, like I said before, it doesn't matter as much. His green in regulation, he wants to capitalize on the fairways and hit those a lot more. Getting up and down, so saving from the sand or the rough, doing a lot better from scrambling, basically, is what we call it. And putting is great, capitalize on the birdie opportunities, and then save par. All right, guys, that's all I got. Thank you.